I am Alayna Sonnesyn. I am a professional cross-country skier, originally from Plymouth, Minnesota, and I ski for Team Berkey. This is my second visit at Human Powered Health, and it's been really cool to kind of compare the work that I've done over the last 5 months. I was able to take those test results from May and make some changes to some of the training that I was doing, and then come back in here and see what has changed, what's improved, what's maybe the same, what really worked well for that training, and then also make a plan for going forward on how I can continue to improve. I really wanted to test in the spring and in the fall because in the spring, I take basically all of April off to kind of recover from the busy season. And so I'm just getting back into shape. I kind of wanted essentially like a control test. That's kind of my base level of where I'm at. And then I spend all summer and fall training and gearing up for a really busy winter. So come back in here in the fall and check in and see, okay, before I go off and start racing for the winter, what improvements have I made and how much fitness have I gained in the last 5 months during that busy training time. In the spring, when I did the testing here, I saw that my anaerobic threshold was really close to my max VO2. And so essentially that meant I can go pretty darn hard for a really long time, but then as soon as I go really, really hard, I don't have that much wiggle room. And so the training that I did this summer was to try to basically open that up so that when I'm doing a 5 or 10 kilometer race in the winter and I do have to go really, really hard, I can hold it for that entire distance versus maybe hitting a wall essentially, or bonking as some endurance athletes call it. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me in terms of the improvements that I could make. And I think that we saw some improvement today, which is really cool. Also, like with the plyometrics, the force plate, seeing, how can I become more explosive for the ski season, and I know I saw improvements there too. So it's been good. In order to see long-term progress on what you're doing, you just have to be really patient with yourself. And it's not always going to be linear. Also, you might feel really good one day and then really not great the next day, and you're not sure why. But knowing that over time, progress is going to be there, and trusting in yourself, trusting in your coach and your training plan to know that the work that you're doing months before your competition is going to pay off in the end. And it's really helpful then when you get to your competition season and you're nervous or anxious about, the results or how is your body going to perform, you can kind of look back on everything you've done and say, I worked really hard. Like I did those intervals in June, or I did those intervals in August to get me to this point now in January where I know that I've done the work, and maybe it wasn't linear, but it's stacking bricks over time, and you can kind of rely on that brick house that you've just built for yourself. Something that really surprised me today was just how much longer I could go in my max VO2 test. I think it was a couple more extra minutes, and so I was really excited about that. And also, I wouldn't say it was easy by any means, but it felt less scary and less challenging, and I felt ready and confident to kind of face that, and I was able to kind of work through that pain for longer. It was really cool just to see, like, that's the work that I've done, like that's paying off. Every second I keep going in that test is impactful. Last year I didn't have any of this data to help me kind of navigate what type of training I did immediately before the race season and then also throughout the race season. And so I'm excited to kind of have this, and there's a lot of data behind it that ultimately I will give to my coach to help me figure out some of those workouts. But it's fun to know that there's a reason and a why behind what I'm doing. That also helps me know, okay, if I'm gonna do this really hard workout or this really hard thing, I know there's a reason and a purpose behind that. And so that's gonna get me through it mentally a little bit better.